The courtroom door swung open with a force that silenced every whisper. Amara stood there, 23 years old, her mother's eyes, her father's defiant chin. She'd flown in from London overnight, still wearing her university sweatshirt under a hastily thrown-on blazer. "Your Honor," her voice cut through the tension like a knife, "I have evidence that changes everything about this divorce." Chidi Okonkwo's face went pale. His lawyer touched his arm, confused. In the gallery, his pregnant mistress shifted uncomfortably. And there, at the plaintiff's table, Ngozi Okonkwo, the woman he'd publicly humiliated, stripped of dignity and assets, looked up at her daughter with tears streaming down her face. "Welcome to Tales by AJ. If you love stories about betrayal, revenge, and the unbreakable bonds of family, you're in the right place. Today's story will take you on an emotional journey through the streets of Lagos, Nigeria, where one woman's world shattered, and her daughter became her unlikely savior. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a powerful story like this one. And if you're watching from anywhere in the world, drop your location in the comments. I love knowing where my Tales by AJ family is tuning in from. Now let's begin. The restaurant was one of Lagos's finest, Cilantro on Victoria Island, where the wealthy came to see and be seen. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over white tablecloths, and the gentle clink of wine glasses mixed with soft Afrobeat playing in the background. Ngozi Okonkwo had dressed carefully for this anniversary dinner, a deep purple Ankara dress that hugged her 48-year-old figure, her hair freshly done at the salon that morning, gold earrings that Chidi had given her on their 15th anniversary. 25 years of marriage deserved celebration. She arrived early as always, and chose the corner table Chidi preferred. She ordered his favorite wine, a South African Pinot, and waited, checking her phone for his usual running late message. It didn't come. Instead, at exactly 7:30, she saw him walk through the entrance. But he wasn't alone. A young woman clung to his arm. Couldn't be more than 25, wearing a tight red dress that left little to imagination. Her skin glowed, her youth undeniable. And Chidi, her Chidi, had his hand possessively on the small of her back, guiding her through the restaurant with the easy confidence of a man who owned the world. Ngozi's heart stopped. She watched, paralyzed, as they approached a table, not far from hers, perhaps 6 tables away. Close enough to see everything. Close enough to hear his laughter when the hostess made a joke. Close enough to watch him pull out the chair for this girl with the same gallant gesture he'd once reserved for her. "Mrs. Okonkwo." The waiter appeared at her elbow. "Are you ready to order?" She couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. Her eyes locked on her husband as he raised his hand to call a waiter, the same hand that wore the wedding band she'd placed there 25 years ago in that small church in Enugu. Then Chidi looked up. Their eyes met across the restaurant. For one suspended moment, Ngozi thought she saw something. Guilt, perhaps, or surprise. But it vanished so quickly she might have imagined it. His face hardened into something cold, something she'd never seen before. He leaned toward the young woman and whispered something. The girl giggled, touching his arm intimately. Ngozi stood up so fast her chair scraped against the floor. The sound drew attention from nearby tables. She didn't care. Her legs moved on their own, carrying her across that expensive restaurant floor toward the man she'd built her entire adult life around. "Chidi." Her voice sounded foreign to her own ears, tight, strangled. He looked up slowly, deliberately, as if she were a waitress interrupting his meal. The woman beside him, this girl young enough to be his daughter, stared at Ngozi with poorly concealed curiosity. "Ngozi." He said her name like it tasted bitter. "What are you doing here?" The question struck her like a physical blow. What was she doing here? On their anniversary. At the restaurant where they'd celebrated every major milestone for the past decade. "It's our anniversary," she whispered. Around them, other diners had stopped eating. Sensing drama, Chidi's jaw tightened. "That's over. I told you we needed to talk. You chose to ignore my messages." "What messages?" "Chidi, what? This is Kemi. He gestured to the young woman with casual cruelty. My fiancé. I filed for divorce 3 weeks ago. The papers were delivered to the house. This, he waved his hand dismissively at Ngozi, at their marriage, at everything they'd built. This was over a long time ago. You just refused to see it. The restaurant had gone completely silent. Even the music seemed to have stopped. Ngozi felt every eye on her, felt the weight of public humiliation crushing her chest. Fiancé. The word barely made it past her lips. Kemi smiled then, a cruel, triumphant smile. She placed her hand over Chidi's on the table, her fingers playing with his wedding ring. He's going to be a father again, she announced loudly enough for nearby tables to hear. I'm 3 months pregnant. The world tilted. Ngozi grabbed the edge of their table to steady herself. Through the roaring in her ears, she heard Chidi's voice, cold and final. Go home, Ngozi. My lawyer will be in touch. Don't make a scene. You're embarrassing yourself. She looked down at him, this man she'd loved since she was 23, this man she'd supported through law school, this man whose daughter she'd raised, whose home she'd kept, whose mother she'd nursed through cancer. This stranger. You're a coward, she heard herself say. Her voice had found strength from somewhere deep inside. A coward and a liar. And Amara will never forgive you for this. Something flickered across Chidi's face at their daughter's name. But then Kemi squeezed his hand, and the moment passed. Security, Chidi called out, loud enough for the entire restaurant to hear. Please escort this woman out. She's disturbing the other guests. As 2 security guards approached, their faces sympathetic but professional, Ngozi felt something inside her crack and then harden. She straightened her spine, smoothed down her purple dress, and looked her husband in the eye one last time. You'll regret this, she said quietly. Not because I'll make you. Because you'll do it all on your own when you realize what you've thrown away. She walked out with her head high, through the gauntlet of staring diners, past the concerned hostess, into the humid Lagos night. Her car was in the valet lot. She tipped the attendant with shaking hands, slid behind the wheel, and drove 3 blocks before pulling over. Then finally, she let herself brake. Ngozi sobbed in her car on a Victoria Island side street, her 25-year marriage shattered like the crystal glasses on those white tablecloths. Her phone buzzed insistently in her purse. She pulled it out with trembling fingers. 7 missed calls from a number she didn't recognize. 1 voicemail. She pressed play. Mrs. Okonkwo, this is Benson Adele Eek from Adele Eek and Associates Law Firm. I'm calling regarding your husband's divorce petition. I'm very sorry to inform you this way, but the hearing has been scheduled for 6 weeks from today. Your husband is seeking full custody of all marital assets, including your home, and claiming you are mentally unstable and unfit. I strongly advise you to retain legal counsel immediately. The documents contain some very serious allegations. The phone slipped from her fingers. Mentally unstable? Unfit? Full custody of their home, the home her parents had helped them buy, the home where she'd raised Amara. Domestic betrayal. The words echoed in her head. This wasn't just infidelity in marriage. This was calculated destruction. Ngozi picked up her phone and dialed the only number that mattered. Amara, she said when her daughter answered in London, where it was just past midnight. Baby, I need you to come home. Your father. Her voice broke. Everything's falling apart. On the other end, silence. Then, Mummy, what did he do? What would you do if you walked in on this? Hit like if you've ever felt betrayed, and comment below where you're watching from. Don't forget to subscribe to Tales by AJ for more powerful stories of resilience and revenge. Amara Okonkwo landed at Murtala Muhammad International Airport 36 hours later, her eyes gritty from crying and lack of sleep. She'd left her final year medical school exams, told her professors there was a family emergency, and booked the first flight out of Heathrow. During the 7-hour journey, her mother's broken voice had played on repeat in her mind. The Lagos heat hit her like a wall as she exited the terminal. She spotted her mother's car in the pickup area. Not her mother driving, but Uncle Emeka, her father's younger brother. Uncle. She threw her suitcase in the back and climbed into the passenger seat. "Where's Mummy?" Emeka's face was grave. He pulled into traffic before answering, navigating the chaotic airport road with practiced ease. "She's home." "Amara, your father. This is bad. Very bad. Tell me everything." As they drove through Lagos, past the street vendors selling plantain chips and pure water, past the yellow Danfo buses packed with commuters, past the gleaming new developments of Victoria Island, Emeka laid it out. The restaurant humiliation had been just the beginning. In the 3 weeks since Chidi filed for divorce, he'd frozen all joint bank accounts. He'd changed the locks on his office, taken Ngozi's name off the company registration for the real estate business they'd built together. He'd told their church congregation that Ngozi had been unfaithful, that he'd been the long-suffering husband. He'd convinced half their friends that she'd been mentally unstable for years. "The cheating spouse becomes the victim," Amara said bitterly. "Classic emotional manipulation." "There's more." Emeka's hands tightened on the wheel. "He's claiming the house is solely his because his name is the only one on the deed. Never mind that your mother's parents contributed half the down payment. Never mind that she's been paying the bills for 25 years while he built his law practice. His lawyer is arguing she deserves nothing." "That's insane. Mummy has rights." "In theory, yes. But your father is Chidi Okonkwo, senior partner at Okonkwo and Mensa. He has connections everywhere. The courts, the banks, the police. He's already planted stories with bloggers about your mother being unstable. There are WhatsApp messages circulating in Lagos social groups. Your mother is being destroyed by gossip before she even gets to court." They pulled up to the family house in Lekki Phase 1. The white walls looked the same as always, the bougainvillea still blooming purple over the gate. But something felt different. Darker. Her mother opened the door before Amara could knock. Ngozi had aged years in weeks. Her eyes were hollowed out, her beautiful face gaunt. She'd lost weight. Too much weight. When she pulled Amara into her arms, she felt fragile, breakable. "My baby," Ngozi whispered. "You shouldn't have come. Your exams are not as important as you." Amara held her mother tight. "Mummy, we're going to fight this. All of it." Inside, the house told its own story of domestic betrayal. Photos of Chidi had been taken down, leaving pale rectangles on the walls. His study door was locked. He'd come and cleared it out while Ngozi was at her sister's house. The master bedroom felt hollow, emptied of his presence. They sat in the living room, the same room where Amara had celebrated birthdays, where the family had gathered for Christmas, where her parents had once danced together to King Sunny Ade's music. Now it felt like a crime scene. "Tell me about Kemi," Amara said. Ngozi's face crumpled, but she steadied herself. "She's 26. Works at that boutique on Admiralty Way, the one that sells designer knockoffs. Your father was representing her boss in a landlord dispute last year. He says they fell in love." The words came out soaked in bitterness. Love. As if what we had for 25 years was nothing. "How far along is she?" "4 months now. She posts ultrasound photos on Instagram. Tags him. Makes sure everyone knows." Ngozi's voice dropped. His friends congratulate him. Call him a real man, for getting a young wife. They post laughing emojis under photos of him and Kemi at restaurants, at the beach, at places we used to go together. Public disgrace. The cruelty of modern infidelity, played out on social media for all to see. What about the divorce petition? Amara pulled out her tablet, ready to take notes. What exactly is he claiming? Ngozi handed her a thick folder. This arrived last week. His lawyer delivered it personally, made sure the neighbors saw. Amara flipped through the documents, her medical school training in reading complex information serving her well. With each page, her jaw clenched tighter. Chidi was claiming mental instability, citing times Ngozi had become emotional during arguments, normal marital conflicts, twisted into pathology. He claimed she'd been financially irresponsible, ignoring that she'd managed the household on a tight budget while he spent freely. He wanted the house, the cars, 70% of all assets. He was offering her a tiny settlement, barely enough to rent a one-bedroom apartment, out of Christian charity. "This is fiction," Amara said flatly. "Every word is designed to destroy you." "It's working." Ngozi's voice was hollow. "I went to the bank yesterday. Our joint account, the one with my name on it too, is frozen pending the divorce. I have 500,000 naira left in my personal account. That's it. That's all I have from 25 years of marriage. Less than $1,000. Co-parenting conflict, African marriage drama, and now financial abuse all wrapped into one devastating package. What about your lawyer?" "I called 3. None will take the case." Ngozi's laugh was bitter. "Your father got to them first. One actually told me it would be career suicide to go against Chidi Okonkwo. I finally found someone, a younger lawyer, Adesuwa Benson. She's willing to fight, but she's inexperienced. Chidi has the best legal minds in Lagos on his side." Amara stood up, pacing the room. Her mind raced through possibilities, through angles of attack. She was her father's daughter in that way, strategic, relentless. "The house," she said suddenly. "You said Grandpa and Grandma contributed to the down payment?" "Yes. Half. But there's no paperwork. It was family money, given in cash. Grandpa's still alive. He can testify. He's 86 and recovering from a stroke. I won't put him through a court battle. Then we need another angle." Amara pulled out her phone. "Uncle Emeka, you said Daddy's been changing business registrations?" "Yes. The real estate company, Okonkwo Properties. Your mother's name was on the incorporation documents. He had them amended, claimed she was never really a partner, just helping with paperwork. But she was a partner. She found the properties, negotiated deals, managed renovations. I remember. I used to go with her to sites when I was little." Amara's eyes lit up. "There has to be evidence. Emails, contracts with her signature, bank transfers." Ngozi shook her head wearily. "He's had weeks to destroy everything. And even if I had evidence, who's going to believe me over him? Amara, you don't understand. In Lagos, men like your father, they're untouchable." "No one is untouchable." The doorbell rang. They all froze. Through the window, Amara saw a man in a suit with a briefcase. Emeka opened the door cautiously. "Delivery for Mrs. Ngozi Okonkwo. Please sign here." Another envelope. More legal documents. Ngozi's hands shook as she opened it. Her face went white. He's suing me for defamation. Claims I've been spreading lies about him. Seeking 10 million naira in damages. 7 figures. Money Ngozi didn't have. Money that would ensure her absolute destruction. Amara took the papers from her mother's hands. Revenge story, she thought grimly. If that's what her father wanted, that's what he'd get, but not the kind he expected. "Mummy," she said carefully, "I need you to tell me something. In all these years, all of Daddy's business dealings, his cases, his clients, was there ever anything questionable? Anything he wouldn't want exposed?" Ngozi looked up sharply. "Amara, what are you?" "I'm asking if the great Chidi Okonkwo has any skeletons in his closet. Because if he wants to destroy you in court, we need ammunition to fire back." A long silence filled the room. Outside, a car horn blared. Someone's generator started up, the noise a familiar soundtrack to Lagos life. Finally, Ngozi spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. There was a case. About 5 years ago. A land dispute in Oja. Your father represented the buyer, but... She stopped, looking conflicted. Amara, if I tell you this, there's no going back. We'll be going to war with your father. He declared war when he humiliated you in that restaurant. When he froze your accounts and turned everyone against you. When he chose a pregnant mistress over his wife and daughter. Amara's voice was steel. I'm just saying we fight back. So tell me, what happened in Oja? Ngozi took a deep breath. The land ownership documents were forged. The original owners, an elderly couple, lost everything. They tried to fight it, but they had no money for lawyers. The case was dismissed. Your father knew. He had to have known. I found the real documents in his study by accident. I asked him about it, and he... She touched her arm unconsciously, and Amara saw the gesture for what it was. He told me to forget what I'd seen. That it was none of my business. That if I ever mentioned it, I'd regret it. Do you still have those documents? No. He made me burn them that night. But the couple, the original owners, they're still alive? I don't know. Maybe. Amara pulled out her tablet again, fingers flying across the screen. What were their names? Ease. Mr. and Mrs. Ease. They ran a small farm in Oja before the land was taken. Within minutes, Amara had found them. Mr. Ease had died 2 years ago, but his widow, Mrs. Chioma Ease, was still alive, living with her daughter in Ikorodu. We go see her tomorrow, Amara announced. Amara, this is dangerous. Your father has powerful friends. If we accuse him of document forgery, then he should have thought of that before he decided to destroy his wife's life. Amara knelt in front of her mother, taking her hands. Mummy, I know you still love him. I know you want to believe this is all a mistake, that he'll wake up and realize what he's done. But that's not going to happen. Kemi is having his baby. He's already moved on. And he's not just leaving you, he's trying to erase you. To make it seem like you never mattered, never contributed, never existed as anything more than an inconvenience. Tears rolled down Ngozi's face. He's your father. No. A father doesn't do this. A father doesn't humiliate his family in public. A father doesn't manipulate the truth and destroy the woman who stood by him for 25 years. Amara's own tears came now. The man doing this? I don't know who he is. But he's not my father anymore. The room was quiet except for their crying, mother and daughter, bonded by betrayal. Finally, Ngozi wiped her eyes. Okay, she whispered. Okay. We fight. But Amara, promise me, if this gets too dangerous, you go back to London. You finish your degree. You don't let him ruin your future too. Deal. But only if you promise me you won't give up. No matter how hard he pushes, no matter what lies he tells, you keep fighting. I promise. They shook on it, a covenant between mother and daughter. Emeka, who'd been silent in the corner, finally spoke. You should know, Chidi's planning something big. I heard from a friend at the Nigerian Bar Association. He's putting together some kind of event, a celebration. He's invited everyone who matters in Lagos legal circles. A celebration of what? Amara asked. His engagement to Kemi. It's next week. At the Intercontinental Hotel. He's calling it a new beginning. The cruelty of it struck like a slap. Not even divorced yet, and already celebrating his new life, his new woman, his escape from the past. But Amara smiled, a cold, calculating smile she'd inherited from her father. Good, she said softly. Let him celebrate. Let him invite everyone. The bigger the stage, the harder the fall. Ngozi looked at her daughter with a mixture of pride and fear. What are you planning? I'm not sure yet. But we have 1 week to gather evidence, build our case, and figure out how to make Chidi Okonkwo's new beginning into his worst nightmare. Mrs. Chioma Ease lived in a modest bungalow in Ikorodu, far from the gleaming towers of Victoria Island. The neighborhood was working class, houses with corrugated iron roofs, children playing football in dusty streets, women frying akara by the roadside. Amara and Ngozi arrived mid-morning, after navigating 2 hours of Lagos traffic. A young woman answered the door, Mrs. Ease's daughter, Obioma. She looked suspicious until Ngozi explained who they were and why they'd come. You're Barrister Okonkwo's wife. Obioma's expression hardened. That man destroyed my parents. My father died of a heart attack 6 months after we lost our land. The stress killed him. I'm so sorry, Ngozi said quietly. I didn't know the full story until recently. I should have done more. Why are you here now? Amara stepped forward. Because my father is trying to destroy my mother the same way he destroyed your family. And we think the Aja land case might be the key to stopping him. We need to know what happened. Everything. Obioma studied them for a long moment, then stepped aside. Mama is inside. But I'm warning you, talking about this upsets her. If she starts crying, you leave. Understood. They agreed. Mrs. Chioma Ease was 73, thin and frail, sitting in a worn armchair with a blanket over her legs despite the heat. Her eyes were cloudy with cataracts, but sharp with memory. You're Chidi Okonkwo's people, she said when they were introduced. It wasn't a question. I'm his wife, Ngozi said. Or I was. We're divorcing. Mrs. Ease, I know what happened to your land was wrong. I want to help make it right, if I can. Help. The old woman's laugh was bitter. That land was our retirement. Our children's inheritance. My husband worked 30 years to pay for it. Then some rich man wanted it for a shopping complex, and suddenly our documents were fake. The police came. They said we were squatters on our own land. Your husband, he was the lawyer who made it all legal. Do you have any evidence? Amara asked gently. The original land documents, receipts, anything from before the case? The police took everything when they raided our house. They said it was evidence. We never got it back. Mrs. Ease's voice trembled. My husband tried to fight. He went to the newspapers, to human rights organizations. Nobody would help. He couldn't afford a lawyer. The stress. She touched her chest. It broke his heart. Literally. Domestic betrayal on a different scale. Not just a wife, but an entire family destroyed by greed and corruption. I'm sorry, Ngozi whispered. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't bring back our land. Doesn't bring back my husband. Obioma brought out tea. As they drank, she pulled out an old phone. Mama doesn't know I kept these. I was afraid they'd come back and take them too. She scrolled through photos. I took pictures of everything before the police raid. The original survey papers, the receipt from when my father bought the land in 1989, letters from the local government acknowledging ownership. I even recorded the meeting where the police commissioner, who was friends with your husband, Mrs. Okonkwo, told us we had no case. Amara's heart raced. Can you send those to me? Why should I? Obioma's eyes were hard. So your rich family can make more trouble for us? We've suffered enough. Because, Amara said carefully, my father is about to get away with this. He's about to move on with his life, marry a new woman, probably do this to other families. But if we can prove what he did to you, we can stop him. We can make sure he pays for what he's done, to you, to my mother, to everyone he's hurt. And what do we get out of it? Ngozi spoke up. The land. If we win, if we can prove the documents were forged, you get your land back. I'll make sure of it. I'll hire the best lawyer. With what money? Obioma interrupted. You just said you're broke. Then I'll find a way. But Mrs. Ease deserves justice. Your father deserves justice. The old woman had been silent, listening. Now she leaned forward. You can't bring back my husband. But if you can shame that man, if you can show the world what kind of person Chidi Okonkwo really is, then yes, use whatever I have. I don't want any other family to suffer like we did. Obioma hesitated, then nodded. I'll send you everything. But Mrs. Okonkwo, if you're going to do this, do it right. Don't start something you can't finish. Men like your husband, they're dangerous when cornered. They left Ikorodu with a phone full of evidence and a plan forming in Amara's mind. Back in Lekki, they found Adesuwa Benson, Ngozi's lawyer, waiting at the house. She was 32, wearing a sharp suit and an expression that meant business. I have news, Adesuwa said without preamble. Your husband's lawyer contacted me. They're offering a settlement. What kind of settlement? Ngozi asked. 2 million naira, the Toyota Camry, and you sign an NDA agreeing never to speak publicly about the marriage or divorce. In exchange, you give up all claims to the house, the business, and any other assets. You have 48 hours to decide. That's insulting, Amara said. 2 million naira wouldn't cover rent for a year in Lagos. It's also a trap, Adesuwa added. The NDA means if you ever tell anyone what really happened, about the restaurant, about Kemi, about any of it, he can sue you for breach. You'd be silenced forever. More emotional manipulation. More control. Chidi Okonkwo didn't just want to win. He wanted to erase his wife's voice entirely. We're not taking it, Ngozi said firmly. Good. Adesuwa pulled out her laptop. Because I did some digging. Your husband's not as clean as he pretends. There are 3 other wives, women he represented in divorce cases, who've made similar claims about him. That he hit on them while representing their husbands. That he offered special deals if they'd go out with him. None of them would go on record, but I have their statements. He's a serial cheater, Amara said. More than that. He's a predator. He specifically targets vulnerable women going through divorces. Kemi isn't special. She's just the one who got pregnant. Ngozi looked sick. How many? That I can confirm. 5 over the past 10 years. There might be more. The room spun. 25 years of marriage. And Ngozi had been blind to all of it. Or had she? She thought back to suspicious phone calls, late nights at the office, the way he'd become more distant over the years. She'd ignored the signs, trusted him, believed in their vows. We need to tell people, Amara said. Expose him. It's not that simple. Adesuwa closed her laptop. These women won't testify. They're afraid of him, of his connections, of the public shame. Without their testimony, it's just gossip. And you know how Lagos treats women who accuse powerful men. They become the villains. Then what do? We build a legal case so strong he can't wiggle out of it. We document every asset, every bank account, every property. We prove your mother's contributions to the business. We expose the Oja land case. We make him defend himself on so many fronts that he'll beg for a fair settlement just to make it stop. Amara showed Adesuwa the photos from Obioma. The lawyer's eyes widened. This is huge. Document forgery, fraud, corruption. If we can tie him directly to this. We can, Amara said. I just need to find more evidence. There has to be a paper trail somewhere. His office, Ngozi said suddenly. At the firm. He keeps files there, old case documents. If there's evidence, it's there. We can't break in, Adesawa warned. Anything obtained illegally would be inadmissible in court. I'm not talking about breaking in. Ngozi's expression turned calculating. I'm talking about walking in. I still have the access code to the building. I helped manage the office for years before Chidi cut me out. As far as the security guards know, I still work there. That's too risky, Amara protested. If Daddy finds out, what's he going to do? Divorce me. Ngozi's laugh was sharp. He's already doing that. I have nothing left to lose, Amara. Nothing except my dignity. And I'm taking that back. They spent the rest of the day planning. The engagement party was in 5 days. The divorce hearing was in 4 weeks. They needed evidence before both events, enough to stop the celebration and win the case. That night, Amara couldn't sleep. She lay in her childhood bedroom, staring at the glow-in-the-dark stars she'd put on the ceiling when she was 8. Her father had helped her, climbing a ladder and letting her direct where each star should go. He'd been patient, loving, present. When had he changed? Or had he always been this way, and she'd been too young to see it? Her phone buzzed. A message from a London number. Her boyfriend, David. How are things? Missing you. When are you coming back? She didn't know how to answer. How could she go back to normal life, to lectures and exams and studying anatomy, when her mother was fighting for survival? When her family was imploding? Another buzz. This time from a Lagos number she didn't recognize. Is this Amara Okonkwo? This is Kemi. Your father's fiancé. We should talk. Amara stared at the message, her heart pounding. What could the pregnant mistress possibly want to say to her? Against her better judgment, she typed back. About what? The response came immediately. About the kind of man your father really is. Meet me tomorrow. 11 a.m. Cafe Neo in Lekki. Come alone. This story is getting intense. If you're hooked, smash that like button and drop a comment. Should Amara trust Kemi, or is this a trap? Don't forget to subscribe to Tales by AJ and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss the next chapter of this explosive African marriage drama. Cafe Neo was crowded with Lagos's young professionals. People typing on laptops, having business meetings, posting aesthetic photos of their coffee for Instagram. Amara arrived 15 minutes early and chose a corner table where she could see the entrance. She ordered a cappuccino she didn't want and waited. Kemi walked in at exactly 11 o'clock. She was beautiful. There was no denying it. Slim despite the pregnancy, wearing a designer dress that probably cost more than Ngozi's monthly budget, her hair in perfect Brazilian waves. She carried herself with the confidence of a woman who'd won, who'd taken what she wanted and suffered no consequences. Amara's hands clenched around her coffee cup as Kemi approached. Thank you for coming, Kemi said, sliding into the seat across from her. Up close, she looked younger than her 26 years, almost girlish, with carefully applied makeup that couldn't quite hide the dark circles under her eyes. I'm here. Talk. Kemi ordered a fresh orange juice before speaking. I know what you think of me. Homewrecker. Gold digger. The other woman who destroyed your family. You said it, not me. But I'm not the villain in this story, Amara. Your father is. Amara laughed bitterly. So you're a victim? You accidentally fell into bed with a married man? Accidentally got pregnant? Please. I was 24 when we met, Kemi said quietly. I was working at the boutique, trying to save money for university. Your father came in to buy a gift for your mother. Ironic, right? He was charming, sophisticated, powerful. He told me his marriage was already over, that he and your mother hadn't been happy for years. He said she was controlling, that she made his life miserable, that he was only staying for you. Classic cheating spouse playbook. The lies that justified infidelity, the rewriting of history to make betrayal seem noble. And you believed him. I wanted to believe him. Kemi's voice cracked slightly. Do you know what it's like to grow up in Ajagunal, to watch your mother clean houses for rich people, to know that education and opportunity are luxuries you can't afford? Then someone like Chidi Okonkwo notices you, treats you like you matter, offers you a life you've only dreamed of. So it was about money. Partly. I won't lie about that. But it was also about feeling special, feeling chosen. He made me feel like I was worth something. Kemi touched her stomach. Then I got pregnant. And everything changed. What do you mean? Kemi looked around the cafe nervously before leaning in. The engagement party next week? I don't want it. The pregnancy? He's pressuring me to have it even though I had doubts. The house he's promised me. It's conditional. I have to sign a prenup that gives me nothing if we divorce. He's controlling every aspect of my life now. And when I tried to push back, when I said maybe we should slow down. She pulled up her sleeve. Bruises. 4 distinct finger marks on her upper arm, the kind left by someone gripping too hard. Amara's medical training kicked in automatically. He did that. Last week. I suggested we postpone the engagement party until after the divorce was final. He said I was being ungrateful, that I should be happy with what he was giving me. When I kept arguing, he grabbed me. Hard. Told me that if I embarrassed him, I'd regret it. Kemi's eyes filled with tears. I'm starting to understand what he did to your mother. And I'm terrified I'm next. The revelation shifted something in Amara's chest. She wanted to hate this woman, to see her as the enemy. But looking at her now, young, scared, trapped in a situation she'd been manipulated into, Amara saw another victim of Chidi Okonkwo's emotional manipulation. Why are you telling me this? Because I need help. I can't go to the police. He has friends there. I can't tell my family. They're so proud I'm marrying up, they wouldn't believe me. And I definitely can't tell his friends or colleagues. But you're fighting him already. Your mother's lawyer called me yesterday, asked if I'd testify about the timeline of our relationship. I said no because I was scared. But now. She pulled out her phone. I have evidence. Text messages where he coached me on what to say if anyone asked how we met. Photos he made me delete from social media because they were too revealing. Voice notes where he talks about hiding assets from your mother. Amara's pulse quickened. You'd give those to us? On one condition. You help me get out. I need money, enough to disappear, to start over somewhere he can't find me. I need protection. And I need. She touched her stomach again. I need help figuring out what to do about this baby. I don't know if I can raise a child connected to him. That's not my decision to make. I know. But your mother went through 25 years with him. She knows things I don't. About how he operates, how to get away from him. I need her help. And in exchange, I'll give you everything you need to destroy him in court. It was a devil's bargain. Help the woman who'd slept with her father, or lose crucial evidence that could save her mother. I need to talk to my mother first, Amara said. This isn't my call alone. Fine. But decide quickly. The engagement party is in 4 days. After that, everything gets locked in. I'll have publicly committed to him, and getting out will be impossible. Kemi stood to leave, then paused. One more thing. Your father has a safe in his office. Behind the bookshelf. Combination is your mother's birthday. He never changed it. Everything important is in there. Every case he ever wanted to hide, every document that could ruin him. If you're planning to raid his office, start there. She walked out, leaving Amara sitting in shock. The drive home was a blur. Amara's mind raced with possibilities, with moral calculations. Could they trust Kemi? Was this some elaborate trap set by her father? Or was Kemi genuinely trying to escape before she became the next Ngozi? Trapped, abused, erased. At home, she found her mother and Adesewa deep in planning. Papers covered the dining table, bank statements, property records, business contracts. "Mummy, we need to talk." She laid out everything Kemi had said. Ngozi's face went through a dozen emotions: anger, sympathy, betrayal, calculation. "It's a trick," Ngozi said finally. "She's working with Chidi to trap us." "I don't think so." Amara showed her the photo of the bruises. "Look at her arm." And she knew about the safe in Daddy's office. How would she know that unless she'd been there? Chidi could have told her to tell you that. To lure us into breaking into his office so he can have us arrested. Adesewa studied the photo carefully. "Those bruises are real. I've represented enough domestic violence victims to recognize the pattern. And if she has voice notes, messages, that's exactly the kind of evidence we need. Not just for the financial case, but to prove a pattern of abuse. It could get him disbarred. But can we trust her?" Ngozi's voice was anguished. "This woman destroyed my marriage. She's carrying my husband's child. And now she wants my help." "She's also a victim," Amara said gently. "Just like you, Mummy. Daddy manipulated her, lied to her, and now he's abusing her. She made bad choices, yes. But she was 24 and desperate when he targeted her. He's 53 and should have known better." The room fell silent. Outside, a group of children played in the compound, their laughter a sharp contrast to the darkness inside. Finally, Ngozi spoke. "If we help her, what happens to the baby?" "My husband's child." "That's Kemi's decision," Adesewa said. "Not ours. We can't force her either way. And if she testifies, if she gives us this evidence, Chidi will know she betrayed him. He'll come after her. Which is why she needs protection. A place to stay, money to survive, maybe a ticket out of Lagos until the divorce is settled." Amara looked at her mother. "I know this is hard. I know it's asking a lot. But think about what Daddy did to Mrs. Isa's family. Think about those other women Adesewa found. He's going to keep doing this unless someone stops him. And right now, we're the only ones who can." Ngozi stood and walked to the window. She stared out at the compound, at the mango tree Chidi had planted when they first moved in, at the patch of garden where Amara had learned to ride a bicycle, at the physical representation of a life that had been built on lies. "Okay," she said finally. "Tell Kemi we'll help her. But she has to give us everything, every message, every voice note, every piece of evidence. And she has to testify. No backing out at the last minute." "I'll set up a meeting," Adesewa said. "Somewhere safe. We'll bring a notary to witness her statement." "There's something else," Amara said. "Kemi told me about a safe in Daddy's office. Behind the bookshelf. Combination is your birthday, Mummy. She says everything's in there." Ngozi's eyes widened. "How does she know about that?" "Because he's been taking her to the office. Probably when you and he were still together, having her meet him there after hours. The betrayal within the betrayal. Not just the affair, but the desecration of their shared spaces, their shared life. Then we get into that safe," Ngozi said. Her voice was steel now, the helpless victim replaced by something harder, more dangerous. "Tonight. Before he knows we're coming. The building has security," Adesewa warned. "Cameras. Guards. If you're caught." "I won't be caught. I know that building better than Chidi does. I know which cameras work and which are just for show. I know the guards' rotation schedule. I practically ran that office before he kicked me out." Ngozi turned to face them. "This ends tonight. One way or another." They spent the rest of the afternoon preparing. Adesawa drew up legal documents to protect them in case they were caught. Affidavits claiming Ngozi had every right to access the office as a de facto business partner. Amara researched safes, how to open them, what to look for. At 8 p.m., Uncle Emeka arrived with a gym bag full of supplies. A high-quality camera, a portable scanner, gloves, a small toolkit in case the safe proved difficult. "This is crazy," he said, even as he handed over the bag. "If Chidi finds out." "He won't," Ngozi said. "Not until it's too late." They drove to Victoria Island in Uncle Emeka's car, keeping to side streets, arriving at the office building at 9:30 p.m. when the skeleton security crew would be on duty. The building housed several companies. Okonkwo and Mensa occupied the entire fourth floor. Ngozi walked in like she owned the place, which legally she partly did. "Good evening, Mrs. Okonkwo," the security guard greeted her. "Working late. Just need to pick up some files. You know how it is." "Yes, Ma. Let me sign you in." That easy. Years of familiarity, of being known, of being trusted. Chidi hadn't thought to revoke her access because he'd never imagined she'd fight back. They took the elevator to the fourth floor. The office was dark, empty. Through the glass walls, Lagos glittered, a city of 12 million people, of hustle and survival, of winners and losers. Tonight, Ngozi was going to change which category she belonged to. Chidi's office was at the end of the hall, the corner office with the best view. Ngozi used his spare key, another thing he'd never thought to take back, and they slipped inside. The office smelled like his cologne. His desk was immaculate, every file precisely placed. Photos lined the shelves. Chidi receiving awards, Chidi with politicians, Chidi with other lawyers at conferences. Not a single photo of his family. Not anymore. "There," Amara pointed to the bookshelf. "Behind the law books." It took 10 minutes to figure out the mechanism. A hidden latch disguised as a book spine. The bookshelf swung out, revealing a wall safe. Ngozi's hands trembled as she entered the combination. April 15, 1976. Her birthday. The safe clicked open. Inside were files. Dozens of them. Some labeled with case numbers, others marked simply, personal. Ngozi pulled them out one by one, and Amara photographed every page with her phone. The Aja land case was there, all the documentation of the forgery, including emails between Chidi and the buyer explicitly discussing falsifying ownership papers. There were other cases too, equally damaging. Bribes paid to judges, evidence suppressed, witnesses intimidated. "He's been doing this for years," Ngozi whispered. "All this time, I thought he was defending justice. He was just selling it to the highest bidder." There was more. Bank statements showing offshore accounts Chidi had never disclosed. Property deeds in fake names. And a file labeled divorce strategy. His entire plan for destroying Ngozi, laid out in brutal detail. Character assassination, asset hiding, witness manipulation. Every dirty trick, documented in his own handwriting. "This is enough," Amara breathed. "This is more than enough to bury him." Ngozi was crying silently as she photographed the documents. 25 years with a stranger. 25 years sleeping next to a criminal. 25 years of loving someone who'd never really existed. They were almost finished when they heard it. The elevator opening. Footsteps in the hall. Ngozi's eyes went wide. They'd been in the office for over an hour. The guards changed shifts at 10 p.m. Someone new might have seen them on camera, might have come to investigate. The footsteps came closer. Stopped outside Chidi's office. The door handle turned. Amara and Ngozi froze, files still spread across the desk, the safe hanging open behind them. The door swung wide. But it wasn't a security guard standing there. It was Chidi Okonkwo himself, his face twisted with rage. "Hello, wife," he said coldly. I've been waiting for you to try something like this. For a frozen moment, nobody moved. The office hummed with air conditioning, the Lagos night stretching beyond the windows like a witness to their confrontation. Chidi stood in the doorway, blocking their exit, his expensive suit perfectly pressed even at this late hour. Behind him, Amara saw another figure. Yusuf, Chidi's longtime associate at the firm. Security called me, Chidi said conversationally, as if discussing the weather. Said my wife was in the building. I told them there must be some mistake, that my wife wouldn't be foolish enough to break into my office. But here you are, proving me wrong again. This isn't breaking in, Ngozi's voice was steadier than Amara expected. I have legitimate access to this building. I helped build this firm. You were a secretary. Don't rewrite history. Chidi stepped into the office, Yusuf following. What you are now is a thief. Breaking into my private safe, stealing confidential client documents. That's a criminal offense, Ngozi. I could have you arrested. Go ahead, Ngozi said. Let's see what the police think when they read these files. When they see how you've been forging documents, bribing judges, destroying innocent families. Chidi's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Calculation. Those are privileged attorney-client documents. Inadmissible in any proceeding. All you've done is guarantee I'll have you charged with theft and invasion of privacy. We have photos, Amara spoke up. Of everything. Already uploaded to the cloud. You can take our phones, destroy these files, but it's too late. Chidi's gaze shifted to his daughter, and for the first time since the restaurant, they made real eye contact. Amara saw something complex there. Regret, maybe, or loss. But it was quickly buried under cold anger. Amara, I wondered when you'd show up to defend your mother's delusions. Medical school teaching you to play detective now. Medical school taught me to recognize pathology when I see it. And you, Daddy, you're sick. A narcissist who destroys everyone who trusts him. I'm a realist. Your mother was holding me back. Kemi appreciates what I can offer. She doesn't question me, doesn't nag, doesn't make me feel like a failure in my own home. She's terrified of you, Amara shot back. You think she loves you? She's trapped, just like Mummy was. The only difference is she realized it sooner. Something dangerous crossed Chidi's face. You spoke to Kemi. Too late, Amara realized her mistake. She'd revealed their alliance, put Kemi in danger. Chidi pulled out his phone, fingers moving quickly. Yusuf, go to my house. Kemi's there. Make sure she stays there. Lock the door if you have to. Chidi, wait. Ngozi started. No. You wait. Chidi pocketed his phone. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to give me your phones. You're going to sign a document stating you unlawfully accessed confidential files. And you're going to accept my settlement offer, reduced now to 1 million naira because of this stunt, or I'll have you both arrested for corporate espionage. You can't do that, Amara said. I can do whatever I want. I have the police commissioner on speed dial. I play golf with the Attorney General. You have nothing except stolen documents and a vendetta. He held out his hand. Phones. Now. Ngozi looked at her daughter. In that glance, an entire conversation happened. Years of mother-daughter communication compressed into a moment of decision. Then Ngozi smiled. You want our phones? Fine. She pulled hers out, tapped a few buttons, and handed it over. But you should know, I sent everything to Adesua Benson 20 minutes ago. She's my lawyer. Everything's protected under attorney-client privilege now. Even if you destroy our phones, she has copies. It was a bluff. Ngozi hadn't sent anything yet. But Chidi didn't know that. His face darkened. Adesuwa Benson is a third-tier lawyer who barely passed the bar. She's not going to. She's not alone anymore. The voice came from the doorway. Adesuwa herself stood there, holding up her phone. I've been on a video call this entire time, Mr. Okonkwo. Recording everything. Your threats, your admission that these documents exist, your attempt to intimidate your wife and daughter. All admissible in court, all proof of witness tampering and obstruction of justice. Behind Adesuwa, Uncle Emeka appeared, and with him, Amara's breath caught, 2 police officers in uniform. But not just any officers. The woman was Inspector Grace Adeyemi, known for investigating corruption cases. The man was Sergeant Tun Bakare, from the Special Fraud Unit. Mr. Okonkwo, Inspector Adeyemi said formally, we've been investigating complaints about document forgery related to the Oja land case. We have a warrant to search your office and seize any relevant materials. Chidi's composure finally cracked. This is harassment. I demand to see that warrant. She handed it over. It was legitimate, signed by a judge Chidi didn't control. How? He started. Mrs. Chioma Ease filed a formal complaint 3 days ago, Adesuwa explained. About land fraud and corruption. When the investigators asked me to consult, as Mrs. Okonkwo's lawyer and because of my expertise in property law, I suggested we look at your entire case history. Turns out the Oja case wasn't the only questionable file in your office. You planned this, Chidi said to Ngozi, his voice venomous. You set me up. No, Ngozi corrected. I fought back. There's a difference. You set yourself up the moment you decided you were above the law. The next 2 hours were chaos. Police photographed the safe's contents. More investigators arrived. Yusuf was detained for questioning. Chidi called his lawyer, then his friends in high places. But for once, the cavalry wasn't coming. Inspector Adeyemi ran a clean unit, and she'd been waiting years for a chance to investigate Okonkwo and Mensah. At midnight, Chidi was formally cautioned but not arrested, not yet. The investigation would take weeks, maybe months. But the evidence was damning. His career, his reputation, everything he'd built through manipulation and corruption, it was crumbling. As they left the building, Amara watched her father standing in his office, surrounded by police, his face gray in the fluorescent light. He looked small suddenly. Human. Vulnerable. She felt no satisfaction, only a deep sadness for what could have been if he'd been honest, if he'd valued love over control. Outside, Lagos was alive with night traffic. Street vendors sold suya, couples walked hand in hand. The city breathed with the resilience of millions of people surviving, thriving, refusing to be crushed. Is it really over? Ngozi asked Adesuwa. The criminal investigation is just beginning. But for the divorce? Yes. With this evidence, he'll be desperate to settle. He can't afford a trial where all this becomes public. You'll get the house, a fair share of assets, everything you deserve. And Kemi. We sent officers to his house. She's safe. Gave her full statement, turned over her phone with all the messages. She's agreed to testify about the abuse, the manipulation, the timeline of their relationship. Between her testimony and these documents, Chidi Okonkwo's days as Lagos's golden lawyer are over. They drove home in silence. The house looked the same, but everything felt different. They'd gone to war and survived the first major battle. But Amara knew the fight wasn't finished. Inside, Ngozi made tea. They sat in the living room, mother, daughter, lawyer, uncle, processing what had happened. The engagement party, Amara said suddenly. It's in 3 days. What do we do about that? Adesuwa smiled grimly. We let it happen. Let him invite everyone important. Let them all gather. And then, right before he makes his grand announcement, we serve him with our counter-petition. In front of everyone. Let him feel the public disgrace he put you through. That's revenge, Uncle Emeka said. Pure revenge. No, Ngozi corrected. Revenge would be stooping to his level. This is consequences. He humiliated me in a restaurant. He'll face the same medicine in front of his peers. Then they'll all know who he really is. Amara looked at her mother with new respect. The broken woman from a few weeks ago was gone, replaced by someone harder, wiser, unwilling to be a victim anymore. Her phone buzzed. A message from Kemi. Thank you. I'm at a safe house. I gave them everything. Whatever happens now, at least I'm free of him. Another message, this one from David in London. Hey, haven't heard from you in days. Everything okay? Amara realized she'd barely thought about her life in London. Her exams, her relationship, her future career. This fight had consumed everything. She typed back. Long story. I'll explain when I can. But I'm not coming back yet. There's something I need to finish here first. What's that? David asked. Amara looked at her mother, who was laughing at something Uncle Emeka said, the first real laughter Amara had heard from her in weeks. Helping my mother remember who she is, Amara typed. And making sure a bad man faces justice. She sent the message and put her phone away. 3 days until the engagement party. 3 days to prepare for the final confrontation. 3 days until Chidi Okonkwo discovered that the women he'd underestimated were the ones who would bring him down. What a twist. Like and comment if you think Chidi deserves what's coming. Subscribe to Tales by AJ for more African marriage drama and revenge stories. The engagement party showdown is coming next. You won't want to miss it. The Intercontinental Hotel's grand ballroom was decorated like a wedding. White roses, gold ribbons, soft lighting that made everything look like a magazine spread. Chidi had spared no expense for his engagement party. 200 guests filled the space. Lawyers, judges, politicians, business owners, all of Lagos's elite. A live band played contemporary Nigerian music mixed with high-life classics. Waiters circulated with champagne and small chops. Amara watched from across the street, sitting in Uncle Emeka's car with her mother and Adesawa. They'd arrived an hour ago, waiting for the right moment. He looks happy, Ngozi observed quietly. Through the hotel windows, they could see Chidi on the ballroom floor, Kemi on his arm in a white dress that clung to her growing belly. He was laughing, shaking hands, accepting congratulations. The man of the hour, celebrating his new beginning while his old life crumbled in secret. He didn't know yet that the police investigation had leaked to the press. He didn't know that Linda Ikeji's blog had published a blind item about a prominent Lagos lawyer facing corruption charges. He didn't know that 3 of his biggest clients had quietly retained new counsel. He was about to find out. It's time, Adesawa said. She held a thick envelope, the counter petition, the criminal evidence summary, and a court order freezing all of Chidi's assets pending investigation. Everyone ready? Amara nodded. Her mother had dressed carefully for this moment. A stunning navy Ankara gown, her hair done, makeup perfect. She looked like the woman she'd been before Chidi tried to break her. Elegant, dignified, unbreakable. They crossed the street and entered the hotel. The ballroom entrance had a guest list, but Adesawa simply handed the attendant a business card. We're from Benson Legal Services. We have documents for Mr. Okonkwo. It's urgent. The attendant hesitated, then let them through. The ballroom was even more opulent from inside. Crystal chandeliers cast prismatic light. The scent of roses mixed with expensive perfume. Lagos's social elite had turned out in force. This was the event of the season, after all. Chidi Okonkwo, one of the city's most successful lawyers, finally moving on from his failed marriage to embrace happiness with a beautiful young woman. The perfect story. The perfect lie. Ngozi walked into that ballroom like a queen entering her kingdom. Heads turned. Whispers spread. The guests recognized her, Chidi's soon-to-be ex-wife, the woman he'd humiliated at Cilantro. What was she doing here? On the stage, the band finished a song. The lead singer announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for our man of the hour, Barrister Chidi Okonkwo." Chidi took the microphone. He hadn't seen them yet. "Thank you all for coming," he began, his voice smooth, confident. "Tonight is about celebrating new beginnings, about facing consequences." Ngozi's voice rang out, clear and strong. The ballroom went silent. Every eye turned to her. Chidi's face went pale, then red. "Ngozi, what are you, security? Let her speak," someone called out. Others echoed it. The crowd sensed drama, and in Lagos, drama was entertainment. Ngozi walked forward, Amara and Adesawa flanking her. Kemi, standing beside Chidi on stage, looked confused and frightened. 3 weeks ago, Ngozi said, her voice carrying to every corner of the room, "My husband humiliated me in a restaurant. Told me our 25-year marriage was over, introduced me to his pregnant mistress, had security escort me out. Many of you heard about it. Some of you laughed." Uncomfortable silence. Some guests had the grace to look ashamed. I was destroyed. I questioned everything. My worth, my judgment, my entire adult life. I believed my husband when he said I was the problem, that I was unstable, that I deserved nothing. Ngozi's voice grew stronger. But then my daughter came home from London. And she reminded me who I really am. Not a victim. A survivor. "This is inappropriate," Chidi started. "What's inappropriate?" Adesawa interrupted, stepping forward. "Is hosting an engagement party while under investigation for corruption, document forgery, bribery, and fraud." The ballroom erupted. Guests pulled out phones, already texting the gossip. Chidi's face had gone from red to white. "That's a lie," he said. "A desperate. Inspector Grace Adeyemi executed a search warrant on your office 3 days ago," Adesawa continued. She pulled documents from her envelope, held them up. "These are records from that search. Bank statements showing offshore accounts. Emails discussing falsified land documents. Evidence of bribes paid to judges." "Should I continue?" Someone in the crowd gasped. A judge, one who'd been on Chidi's golf outings, quietly moved toward the exit. "The Oja land case," Ngozi said. "Mr. and Mrs. Ease. You destroyed their lives. Chidi. You knew those documents were fake. You helped steal their property. And you did it for money. You can't prove." "We have your emails," Amara spoke up. "Your handwritten notes. We have testimony from your associate, Yusuf, who's agreed to testify in exchange for immunity. We have everything." Chidi looked at Kemi desperately, as if she might somehow save him. But Kemi was staring at him with an expression of dawning horror. "You lied to me," Kemi said quietly. "About all of it." "Kemi, not now. You said you were a good man. That your wife was the problem. That you just wanted a fresh start." Her voice grew louder. "But you're a criminal. You've been manipulating me, controlling me, hurting me." She pulled up her sleeve, showing the bruises that had now yellowed but were still visible. "You did this when I tried to question you. What else would you do if I stayed?" The crowd murmured. This was beyond gossip now. This was scandal, collapse, the complete unraveling of a powerful man's carefully constructed image. "Ladies and gentlemen," Adesawa announced formally, "I'm serving Mr. Okonkwo with a counter-petition for divorce. Mrs. Ngozi Okonkwo is seeking 70% of all marital assets, full ownership of the family home, damages for emotional distress, and compensation for her contributions to Okonkwo and Mensah law firm, which she helped build from nothing." She walked up to the stage and handed Chidi the envelope. He took it automatically, too stunned to react. Additionally, Adesuwa continued, the Nigerian Bar Association has been notified of the criminal investigation. There will be a disciplinary hearing next month. Given the evidence, disbarment is likely. No, Chidi whispered. No, this can't. It's over, Daddy, Amara said. Not cruelly, but with finality. You lost. Not because we destroyed you, you did that yourself. We just made sure everyone could see the truth. Chidi looked out at the ballroom full of his peers, his friends, his professional network. He saw the judgment, the disgust, the eager anticipation of his downfall. In Lagos, the mighty fell hard, and everyone loved watching it happen. Get out, he said hoarsely. All of you. Get out of my party. But people were already leaving. Not Ngozi and Amara, but the guests. The judges slipped away first, not wanting to be associated with corruption. Then the politicians, always sensitive to scandal. Then the business owners, calculating how this affected their interests. Within 10 minutes, the ballroom was half empty. Within 20, only a few loyal friends remained, and even they looked uncomfortable. The band had stopped playing. Waiters stood awkwardly, unsure whether to continue serving. The beautiful decorations suddenly looked garish, desperate, a stage set for a performance that would never happen. Kemi walked down from the stage, past Chidi without looking at him. She stopped in front of Ngozi. I'm sorry, she said simply. For everything. I was young and stupid and greedy, and I helped him hurt you. I can't take that back, but I can testify. I can help you win. Ngozi studied her for a long moment. Then, surprising everyone, perhaps even herself, she reached out and touched Kemi's arm gently. You were a victim too, Ngozi said quietly. He's good at finding vulnerable women and making us feel special. Then making us feel worthless. I don't forgive you yet. That will take time. But I understand. And yes, I'll accept your help. Kemi nodded, tears streaming down her face. Adesuwa guided her away, toward the exit where a taxi was waiting to take her back to the safe house. Amara and Ngozi stood together, facing Chidi on his empty stage, surrounded by the ruins of his celebration. Was it worth it? Ngozi asked him. Trading 25 years of marriage, your daughter's respect, your career, your reputation, all for what? A younger woman? Money. The thrill of controlling people. Chidi said nothing. He looked broken, diminished, all the arrogance stripped away to reveal the insecure man beneath. I loved you, Ngozi said, and her voice caught. God help me, part of me still does. But I love myself more. And I love our daughter enough to show her that women don't have to accept being treated like they're disposable. She turned to leave, then paused. The house is mine. The courts will confirm it. I'll be changing the locks tomorrow. If you have any personal items you want, you can arrange to collect them through Adesuwa. Don't try to contact me directly. Don't show up unannounced. And don't ever try to turn Amara against me again. Because she sees you now, Chidi. She sees exactly who you are. They walked out together, mother and daughter, leaving Chidi standing alone in his empty ballroom with his empty dreams. Outside, the Lagos night was warm and alive. Traffic hummed. Street vendors called out. The city kept moving, indifferent to one man's fall from grace. I can't believe we just did that, Ngozi said, and then she started laughing. Deep, cleansing laughter that shook her whole body. Amara joined in, and soon they were both laughing so hard they had to hold on to each other. Did you see his face? Amara gasped. Did you see the judge literally running for the exit? They laughed until they cried, releasing weeks of tension and fear and rage. Uncle Emeka pulled up in the car. They climbed in, still giggling like schoolgirls. Where to? He asked. Home, Ngozi said. Our home. The one that's staying ours. As they drove through Victoria Island, past the gleaming buildings and the struggling masses, Past the wealth and poverty that defined Lagos, Amara's phone rang. It was a number she didn't recognize, but something made her answer. "Is this Amara Okonkwo?" A woman's voice, older, unfamiliar. "Yes. Who's this?" "My name is Bisola Okonkwo. I'm your father's first wife." The car swerved slightly as Uncle Emeka reacted to that bombshell. Ngozi grabbed Amara's arm. "What did you say?" Amara asked carefully. "Your father and I were married in 1995. Divorced in 1998. He told everyone I died. But I didn't die. I just refused to keep quiet about his abuse. He paid me off, made me sign an NDA, disappeared me." The woman's voice was bitter. "I saw the news about tonight's party. About the investigation. I need to talk to you. There's more, so much more, that you don't know about who your father really is." Amara looked at her mother, whose face had gone pale. "How many?" Ngozi whispered. "How many of us are there?" "At least 3 that I know of," Bisola said, having heard the question. "Maybe more. Chidi Okonkwo has been running this same playbook for 30 years. Charming women, marrying them, destroying them, moving on. Your mother isn't his second wife, dear. She's at least his third. Maybe his fourth." The revelation hung in the air like smoke. "I have documents," Bisola continued. "Photos. Proof of everything. I kept it all these years, waiting for the right moment. If you're really taking him down, I want to help. He needs to pay for what he's done to all of us." Amara's mind raced. How deep did this go? How many lives had her father destroyed? "Meet us tomorrow," she said. "Noon. Cafe Neo in Lekki. Bring everything you have. I'll be there. And Amara, tell your mother I'm sorry. Sorry she got caught in his web too. Sorry it took all of us this long to fight back." The call ended, and the silence that followed, Ngozi stared straight ahead, processing this new layer of betrayal. Not just infidelity in marriage, a pattern of predatory behavior spanning decades. "Mummy." Amara touched her arm gently. "I'm okay," Ngozi said, though her voice trembled. "I think I'm okay. It's just, how did I not see? How did I miss all the signs?" "Because he's good at hiding them," Uncle Emeka said gruffly. "My brother, I thought I knew him. We grew up together. But this is pathological. This is who he's always been, just hidden under expensive suits and smooth words." They drove the rest of the way in silence, each lost in their own thoughts. Home, Ngozi went straight to the bedroom, the master bedroom that would soon be hers alone. Amara followed. "Do you want to talk?" Amara asked. "No." "Yes." "I don't know." Ngozi sat on the bed. 25 years. I gave him 25 years. And I wasn't even his second choice. I was his third or fourth. How many women did he do this to before me? How many after? How many chemies were there that I never knew about? We'll find out tomorrow. But Mummy, listen. None of this is your fault. You didn't cause his behavior. You didn't deserve any of it. I know. Intellectually, I know. But emotionally. Ngozi touched her chest. I feel like a fool. Like I wasted my entire adult life on a lie. You didn't waste anything. You raised me. You built a home. You survived. That's not nothing. Ngozi pulled Amara into a fierce hug. I don't know what I'd do without you. Good thing you'll never have to find out. That night, Amara lay awake in her childhood bedroom, thinking about the courtroom battle still to come. The divorce hearing was in 2 weeks. Chidi was wounded, exposed, but probably not defeated. Men like him, narcissists with resources and connections, didn't go down easily. Her phone buzzed. A message from Adesawa. Just got word. Chidi's hired Maxwell Obi as his new lawyer. The tiger of Lagos courts. This just got serious. Maxwell Obi was legendary, A defense attorney who'd gotten politicians acquitted of murder, businessmen cleared of fraud, powerful men absolved of every crime. If Chidi had retained him, he was preparing for total war. Another message, this one from Kemi. He came to the safe house. Broke down the door. I'm okay, security stopped him. But he knows where I am. I'm scared. And a third, from a blocked number. Tell your mother to drop the charges. Tell her to take the settlement. Or you both will regret it. This is your only warning. Amara's hands shook as she screenshot the threat and sent it to Adesuwa. The response came immediately, forwarding to police. This is witness intimidation. But Amara, be careful. Chidi's desperate now. Desperate men are dangerous. Amara got up and checked the locks on all the doors, the windows, the gate. She looked in on her mother, who'd finally fallen asleep, exhausted by the day's emotional warfare. Outside, Lagos breathed its eternal rhythm, the generator hum, distant music, dogs barking, life continuing no matter what personal dramas unfolded. Tomorrow they'd meet Bisola. They'd learn how deep this betrayal really went. They'd prepare for the final courtroom confrontation where everything would be decided. But tonight, they'd survived. They'd fought back. They'd shown Chidi Okonkwo that the women he'd tried to erase were very much alive, very much fighting, and very much done being victims. Amara returned to bed and opened her laptop. She had an idea, a risky one, but possibly brilliant. She began typing, "Open letter to the Nigerian Bar Association regarding systemic issues in family law and the protection of vulnerable women in divorce proceedings. If her father wanted war, she'd give him war. But not just in court. In public opinion, in the media, in every space where his reputation still held power to be why morning." Her letter was finished. She sent it to 3 newspapers, 5 blogs, and the Bar Association itself. Within hours, it would go viral. And Chidi Okonkwo would discover that his daughter was more like him than he'd ever realized, strategic, relentless, and absolutely unwilling to lose. The Lagos High Court was packed. Courtroom 4B had become the hottest ticket in the city. Everyone wanted to witness the final destruction of Chidi Okonkwo. Journalists filled the back rows. Bloggers live tweeted. Even Linda Akeji herself had shown up, her phone ready to capture every moment. It was 4 weeks after the disastrous engagement party. 4 weeks of negotiations, legal maneuvering, and Chidi's increasingly desperate attempts to salvage his reputation. But the criminal investigation had moved forward relentlessly. The Nigerian Bar Association had suspended his license pending resolution of the charges. 3 major clients had sued him for malpractice. The mighty had truly fallen. Ngozi sat at the plaintiff's table with Adesuwa beside her. She wore a simple but elegant coral dress, her hair styled naturally, minimal jewelry. She'd lost the haunted look from weeks ago, replaced by something harder, determination. Across the aisle, Chidi sat with his legal team, a desperate mix of lawyers he'd called in favors to assemble. He looked older, diminished. The confidence was gone. In its place was the cornered animal panic of a man watching his entire life disintegrate. Kemi was somewhere in the building, waiting to testify. She'd moved to Ibadan, was staying with relatives, trying to decide what to do about the pregnancy. Whatever she chose, Adesuwa had ensured she'd have financial support from the divorce settlement. The judge entered, Justice Omolola Adebayo, a stern woman in her 60s known for her no-nonsense approach and intolerance for corruption. Chidi had tried to get the case reassigned. She denied the motion. "All rise," the bailiff called. The divorce hearing began. Adesuwa was magnificent. She laid out the case methodically. 25 years of marriage. Ngozi's contributions to building the law firm and real estate business. Documentation of every property purchased, every asset acquired. Proof that Ngozi had been more than a housewife. She'd been a full business partner, even if her name wasn't on all the papers. Then came the character evidence. The restaurant humiliation. The frozen accounts. The smear campaign. Witness after witness testified to Chidi's calculated destruction of his wife's reputation. "Mr. Okonkwo," Justice Adebayo said, looking over her glasses at him, "you claimed in your petition that your wife was mentally unstable. Yet I see no medical evidence. No psychiatric evaluations. What I do see is a successful woman who managed your household, raised your daughter, and contributed substantially to your businesses. Would you like to revise your characterization? Chiddy's lawyer whispered urgently in his ear. Your Honor, my client may have been hasty in his language. Emotions were running high. Emotions, the judge repeated dryly. How convenient. Continue, Ms. Benson. Adesewa called Kemi to the stand. The courtroom buzzed as the young woman walked to the witness box, her pregnancy now obvious at nearly 6 months. She didn't look at Chiddy as she was sworn in. Ms. Fashola, Adesewa began gently, how did you meet Mr. Okonkwo? He came into the boutique where I worked. Started flirting. Asked me to dinner. Was he wearing a wedding ring? Yes. But he said his marriage was over. That they were separated. Was that true? No. Kemi's voice was small. I found out later they were still living together. Still married. He'd lied about everything. Did he ever display violent behavior toward you? Kemi hesitated, then pulled up her sleeve. The bruises had faded, but photos were entered into evidence, clear documentation of abuse. He grabbed me when I questioned the engagement party timing. Said I was being ungrateful. That he'd given me everything and I owed him obedience. The courtroom murmured. Even Chiddy's lawyers looked uncomfortable. Did you want this baby, Ms. Fashola? I don't know. He pressured me to keep it. Said it proved our relationship was real, that he was starting a new family. But I'm 26. I'm not ready. And now I'm terrified of being tied to him forever. Chiddy's face was stone, but Amara, watching from the gallery, saw his jaw clench, saw the rage beneath the careful control. When Adesewa finished, Chiddy's lawyer declined to cross-examine. What could he ask that wouldn't make things worse? Next came Mrs. Chioma Ease. The elderly woman was wheeled into the courtroom, frail but determined. Her testimony was devastating. The original land documents, the police raid, her husband's death from the stress. And through it all, the constant presence of barrister Chiddy Okonkwo, facilitating the theft with legal expertise. He looked me in the eye, Mrs. Ease said, her voice trembling with age and emotion, and told me that property rights were complex, that I should just accept the ruling and move on. My husband cried that night. A 70-year-old man, crying like a child because someone stole the land he'd worked his whole life to own. 6 months later, he was dead. And that man, she pointed at Chiddy, he never lost a night's sleep over it. Justice Adebayo's expression was granite. When the prosecution rested, Chiddy's lawyer called character witnesses. Friends who testified to his generosity, his church attendance, his professional success. But it rang hollow against the weight of evidence. Finally, the judge called for closing arguments. Adesewa stood. Your Honor, this case is about more than asset division. It's about a man who systematically destroyed his wife's identity, her financial security, and her reputation because she was no longer useful to him. It's about domestic betrayal of the worst kind, not just infidelity, but calculated cruelty. Mrs. Okonkwo gave 25 years of her life to this marriage. She deserves not just a fair settlement, but recognition that she was never the problem. Her husband's lack of character was. The Lagos High Court was packed. Courtroom 4B had become the hottest ticket in the city. Everyone wanted to witness the final destruction of Chiddy Okonkwo. Journalists filled the back rows. Bloggers live-tweeted. Ngozi sat at the plaintiff's table with Adesewa beside her. She wore a simple but elegant coral dress, her hair styled naturally. She'd lost the haunted look from weeks ago, replaced by something harder, determination. Across the aisle, Chiddy sat with his legal team. He looked older, diminished. The confidence was gone. Justice Omolola Adebayo entered, a stern woman in her 60s known for her no-nonsense approach and intolerance for corruption. All rise, the bailiff called. Adesewa was magnificent. She laid out the case methodically. 25 years of marriage. Ngozi's contributions to the law firm and real estate business. documentation proving Ngozi had been a full business partner. Then came the character evidence. The restaurant humiliation. The frozen accounts. The smear campaign. Kemi testified about the abuse, showing photos of bruises. Mrs. Chioma Ease described the stolen land and her husband's death from the stress. Through it all, Chidi Okonkwo had facilitated theft with legal expertise. When the prosecution rested, something unexpected happened. Chidi rose to his feet. "Your Honor, may I address the court?" His lawyer tried to stop him. Chidi shook him off. "I need to say this myself." He looked at Ngozi. "I've been sitting here listening to testimony about what a monster I am. And the worst part is, it's true. All of it. I was a coward. Afraid of getting old. So I tried to feel young by chasing a woman half my age. I tried to feel powerful by destroying my wife. In the process, I became exactly what I feared, a failure with no honor or integrity." He turned to Ngozi. "I can't undo the pain. But I'm not going to fight you anymore. Take everything. You earned it." Justice Adebayo studied him coldly. "Remorse after being caught is not genuine repentance." She looked up. "This court finds in favor of the plaintiff, Mrs. Ngozi Okonkwo. She is awarded the family home with full ownership, 60% of all marital assets, 30% ownership of the real estate business, and $50,000 in damages for emotional distress." The gavel came down with finality. It was over. Ngozi began to cry, not from sadness, but relief. Amara rushed to embrace her mother. "You did it," Amara whispered. "We did it," Ngozi corrected. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed them. Ngozi stepped forward for one final statement. "I want every woman watching this to know, you are not trapped. No matter how powerful your partner, you can fight back. You can reclaim your life. Don't let anyone make you small to make themselves feel big. You are worth more than that." 3 months later, Ngozi had moved to Accra, starting fresh with a property consultancy. Kemi had her baby, a girl named Grace. Chidi faced trial, likely prison time. Amara, back in London studying for exams, understood now what her mother had really taught her. That true strength isn't about never falling. It's about getting back up and refusing to let anyone else's cruelty define your worth. Thank you for watching this powerful story on Tales by AJ. If this moved you, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about resilience, revenge, and the unbreakable bonds of family. Comment below. What was your favorite moment? Share this with anyone who needs to hear that it's never too late to fight back. Remember, you are worth more than anyone's cruelty. Until next time, this is Tales by AJ. Peace.